Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Quantum Technology Training for Policymakers. Today, we are going to have a discussion about developing the roadmap for Quantum Europe strategy. And this training is organized by the Coordination and Support Action of Quantum Technology Flagship, and in particular with the support of the CNR-INO, the National Quantum Institute of Optics in Italy. And for this session, we have got a lot of interest. There was 105 registrants, and we are really happy that they are coming from 26 different countries. And 36% of them are from government, 20 from research, and 17% from industry. So we have quite a broad coverage of type of policymakers among us, and I'm looking forward for this interesting session. Today, we are going to have two speakers with us, whom I'm really happy to invite to the stage. It's Dr. Eleni Diamanti and Dr. Salvatore Cinà. And before they start presenting their work in developing the roadmap, I would like to introduce them well. Dr. Eleni Diamanti is the CNR Research Director at the Computer Science Laboratory of Sorbonne University in Paris. She received her PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford University in 2006, and she was a Marie Curie postdoctoral fellow at the Institute of Optics Graduate School in Palaiseau before joining the CNRS in 2009. Her research focus is on experimental quantum cryptography and communication, and on the development of photonic resources and applications of quantum networks. So she is a recipient of the European Research Council Starting Grant and the director of Paris Center of Quantum Technology, and was also awarded the CNRS Silver and Innovation Medal in 2024. She also serves as vice chair for the European Quantum Technology Flagship Strategic Advisory Board, and is a co-founder of the scientific advisor of the startup company called Welling that specializes in the quantum interconnecting technology. So we are very happy to have you with us, Eleni.
Thank you very much, Oxana. Thank you.
And it's a great pleasure. And with Eleni, we also have Dr. Salvatore Cinà, who is a program director of quantum technologies at the CNR, the French Energy Agency. And he was previously responsible for technology transfer and the establishing and managing strategic industrial partnerships. Earlier in his career, he served as the deputy head of the optomechanics department at the CNR Laboratory of Electronics and Information Technologies, as well as the the director of the 3V Lab, a joint venture between CNR, Thales, and Nokia. And as a scientist, he conducted research at the University of Cambridge on the polysilicon thin film transistors, at the Toshiba Cambridge Research Center on the semiconductor devices, and in the Cambridge Display Technology on the organic-based optomechanics devices, as well as at Thomson on the development of OLED-based displays. Salvatore has a degree in physics from the University of Rome and a PhD in semiconductor physics from the University of Cambridge. Thank you very much, Salvatore. It's a great pleasure for us to have you here. And these two people are at the coordination of the development of the strategic research and industry agenda, which is shortly said a roadmap for the Quantum Europe strategy. Please, the stage is yours, Salvatore and Eleni.
Thanks, Oxana. Good morning, everyone. So I can start probably sharing the slides. So it will be a joint presentation between Eleni and myself. I will start sharing, and
Just a quick notice, meanwhile the slides are in the share. Please, to all the participants, write your questions meanwhile the presentation is going on in the Q&A box, in the question and answer box. And we are going to address all the questions one after another after the presentation is over. Thank you so much.
Perfect. So, Oxana, you can see the slides, yeah?
Yeah, you can see
Yes,
them.
it's all great.
Okay, so the objective today is to share with you the next steps for developing the quantum strategy for Europe and the way this will be aligned with the new strategic research and industry agenda. So probably we've already been introduced. So Eleni Diamanti already have been introduced, but we can skip this page. Eleni and myself will jointly present the slides. And so the starting point of this, the presentation today is the quantum strategy for Europe that has been published by the Commission in July 2025. And the objective is to how we are going in 2026 develop the basic elements of this strategy, which are essentially the technical roadmaps. So you all know this document. This document has been published, as I said, has been presented by Anne Verkunen. And if we go at if you have seen this document in the last few pages, there is a summary of the main actions that will be developed within the Quantum Act. So just a reminder, the Quantum Strategy is the document that will detail the implementation of the Quantum Act that is expected to be submitted to the European Parliament at the end of 2026. So what we're going to focus today are the strategy and roadmaps, which are within the European quantum strategy, which are highlighted here and then listed on the left. So the first three ones are the one that have already existed in the past SRIA, and the common one about the pillars, so the quantum computing and simulation, the hardware and software sides, the quantum communication, and the quantum sensing, with a particular effort and focus on space and defense. The three one following are already existing in the past, but are related also to new activities started in the recent years. So the first one is about the quantum chip industrialization. So it essentially will focus on the next steps following the quantum pilot lines that have been launched or will be launched very soon in Europe. The quantum supply chain enabling technologies are tackling the issues of essentially getting a sovereign supply chain in Europe that takes into account all the issues we have today on export control for critical materials and critical technologies for quantum, as well as the enabling technologies that are also aligned with what we do in the industrialization, meaning make sure that all the critical technology, enabling technology like laser, read and control electronics, materials are properly developed in Europe, and that we can take into account, we are vertically integrated for developing sovereign solutions for quantum technologies in Europe. And the last point is about standards. So make sure that we are in standards benchmarking, we are coordinating the actions at the national and European level. There is another roadmap. So there is another roadmap that will be where the CSA will contribute, which is the one about the European armament roadmap. That will be a contribution because it's coordinated by DG DEFIS. So essentially, today the framework is the following one. The next SRIA will essentially coordinate for the community, and in the framework of the next coordination and support action, the definition of the strategy and the definition of the roadmap that will be implemented then in the framework of the Quantum Act. So in the next few slides, the objective is to explain how this will be done. How are we going to collectively define the strategy and the roadmap to make sure that the quantum strategy represents a collective view of what should be done at the European level. To do so, I mean, we can probably remind us, as we have done for the current SRIA, because this exercise we've done it before. In the last 3 years ago, we started the work, 3.5 actually. So we are going to exploit the work done previously to reuse the process and improve the process for the next SRIA for this strategy and roadmaps. So if you the current SRA, by the way, you can download it from the website of the European flagships, the qt.eu. And if you look at the structure of the SRIA, there are the 4 pillars we discussed before, and a certain number of chapters discussing all the key points that need to be addressed in a coherent and comprehensive strategy for Europe. The way we did it starting in 2022, actually, and publishing the document in February 2024, was to have a coordinator. There was then a core team that was in charge of making sure that everything was progressing in a coherent way. And then for each chapter, there was a chair, 1 or 2 chairs. And within, I would discuss how the group were organized. And we had some specific interfaces for the 2 main initiatives that in 2022 and 2023 were the critical one we had to align the flagship with, and essentially what was going on within the Euro HPC JU, called then the Euro HPC QCS, and what was going on within the quantum communication initiative. So we had links that guaranteed the alignment between the strategic research and industry agenda for quantum technology with what was going on in this more, let's say, more industrially oriented initiatives taken by entities that were outside the flagship. The process that we followed at the time was to merge the 2 roadmaps and strategy that existed. In 2022, there were 2 documents. The one was the strategic research agenda that was directly organized and built by the flagship, and the strategic industry roadmap that was coordinated by QUIC, the consortium of industrial actors in Europe. So the first point was to merge the existing document at the time, create a basic document that could be used to start the consultation, and then share a skeleton for to build the strategic research and industry roadmap. So we published this initial draft in end of 2022, so that the community could see and start getting the basics of what the objective was for the full FSRIA. The important point was also to renew the working group. The working groups were a group of people, group of experts at the European level, initially defined in the framework of the research, strategic research agenda. These had to be upgraded, updated to take into account the fact that we wanted a coherent and cohesive strategy for research and industry. So beginning of 2023, we started renewing and upgrading the working groups, and the working groups were there for every single chapter that I've shown in the previous slide. And then we started the consultations, and the consultations were done in several rounds, initially essentially exploiting the working groups. We had a first draft of the SRIA, and then we started broad consultations with all the main bodies of the governance of the flagship, and they were essentially the Strategic Advisory Board, the Quantum Coordination Board. You can see them here, I'm not going to list them. And it took a certain amount of time, and then we issued a second draft of the SRIA. It's important to know that the SRIA is then presented by the Strategic Advisory Board of the Quantum Flagship to the Commission. So before giving the final draft to the Strategic Advisory Board for validation, we presented the process and the main point of the SRIA at the European Conference for Quantum Technology in 2023, that was in Hanover. Then we had the final validation from the Strategic Advisory Board, and the SRIA was then given to DG Connect in February 2024. So this was the process we followed. for the initial SRIA, and I'm showing it to you because the new one is largely inspired by this one, optimizing what had to be optimized, but otherwise. No? So exploiting the lessons we have learned during this long process, you can see started in May 2022 and finished in February 2024. So it was a long process to build the first draft of the SRIA. The new SRIA will have to, the one that will be developing the quantum strategy and will be so the scientific and technical base for the Quantum Act. We'll have to merge even more documents than we had when we first did the SRIA, because now we have, of course, so we have the SRIA, the one that was published in 2024, and many more documents have been published, have been white papers and documents have been published in the last couple of years. So there are IP guidelines, documents for equity and inclusion, the strategy that was published in July, a new updated version of the strategic industry roadmap. There was a white paper on artificial intelligence and quantum. Other papers that are not listed here, and then the evolution of the roadmaps of Euro QCI, Euro HPC, and the CHIPS JU that started playing a more important role because the pilot lines for quantum had been launched within the framework of the CHIPS JU. So all these documents have to be merged again, and there will be the background and the skeleton that will be the basis for the consultation for the next SRIA. So the process it will be similar to the one that I've shown before. So there will be a chair. It will be in the framework of the next coordination and support action that should start in 2026. So the legacy, this coordination and support action, with the support of the Strategic Advisory Board, which is then represented by Eleni here, will have the last act of the CSA will be to prepare the background for the new CSA that will come. And so what we are doing now is based on the background and start implementing, developing the background process. So start building up the leadership team and mostly the group, the editor group, we are calling it now, the working group, but they called before. So the expert from industry, from basic science, that will contribute to the initial phase of the consultation. Like for the previous SRIA, there will be the initial phase will be with individual chapter working individually. So there will be each roadmap will have an editor group with a certain number of experts, one or two chairs, and chair probably will be one industrial, one academic chair. And the commission, as it was done before, will be heavily involved because I mean that they are the final recipient of this document. There will be some dedicated resources for all the editing part that is quite intensive for building up the document. And we will guarantee that, as was done before, there will be a good balance between academia, industry, gender, and geographical balance at the European level. And Eleni, I can probably give you
Thank you, Salvatore. Thank you, Salvatore. So I'll move on. I'll continue the presentation with the timeline of the preparation of the agenda. So this information that we're providing today at this webinar was also provided a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, at the European Quantum Technologies Conference in Copenhagen. So this essentially kickstarts the procedure of the next for the next SRIA. So right now we are in the process together with the SCA, with the CSA and the Strategic Advisory Board that I represent to form the editor groups that Salvatore presented with the chairs and the members. We launched a call for volunteers. So some people in the editor group will be called by us, and some others will be chosen from the volunteers that expressed their wish to participate in these editor groups. So then there is going to be, starting from January, and as the new CSA will be selected at around that time, January, February, then we're going to enter the process of drafting the first version of the SRIA, and then this will be presented to the SAB in around May 2026. And then this is very important. There is going to be a large consultation phase, public and community based, very large. We really hope that within this month, more or less, 3 or 4 weeks, that the consultation will be open to get feedback from the larger community and also from all the bodies that participate in the governance of the flagship. So maybe I can explain to you here, for some of you, these acronyms that you see here. So this is the high-level governing board, which is formed by a very high-profile scientists in the field that we provide some feedback. This is the quantum community network, the QCN, that has representatives from all member states. The quantum community board brings together everyone from all the flagship projects, and I believe it also includes Quantera project, whatever, all projects that have quantum technologies in general. And QTCG, the Quantum Technologies Coordination group, is the one that is a policy group, a political group that involves involvement from all member states, from the ministers, from the appropriate ministers in each case. So these bodies, and together with a large consultation, will include hopefully everyone who would like to participate in providing some feedback in this first draft. After this, there is going to be a second draft that will include this feedback, and then presentation of the SRIA to the SAB, include the feedback from the SAB, and the second phase during the summer of consultation, maybe of a little bit less restricted possibility to provide, so that we can head towards the finalization of the draft around September and October 2026. And finally, this will be approved by the SAB and will be handed over to Hanna Virkonen at the next EQTC in 2026, which will be in Ireland. So yeah, I hope this gives you an idea of the timeline. So this is a pretty tight timeline, given all the amount of work that you saw that we need to do. So we really count on the help of the whole community. So maybe we can move on to the next. Thank you, Salvatore. So this is the draft structure that we have prepared for the next agenda that will, as Salvatore explained, will feed. So it is very important because it will feed the Quantum Act and all future calls in the next framework program of the quantum technologies governance and structure. So after the executive summary, there will be a chapter on quantum in Europe, the talent and excellence. So where we are, and then we're going to be discussing quantum economy by 2035 and introducing the Quantum Act and how the Quantum Europe strategy will be implemented. Then there's going to be the core of the strategy with the roadmaps, the 6 roadmaps that you have already seen that are part of the strategy, plus a summary including cross-cutting challenges, because I mean, naturally there's going to be some things that are going to be common in these roadmaps, and there will be several chapters following this, one focused on private and public capital for European start and scale-ups, intellectual property, international collaboration in an era of geopolitical challenge, the quantum training, so building Europe's quantum talent pipeline, advancing equal opportunities in quantum, and finally governance of Quantum Europe. So a lot of work, as you see. So the structure for each one of the 6 roadmaps will be ideally similar. So the idea will be to structure them with European ambitions, with the Horizon 2035, with explicit impact on competitiveness, security, and society. We're going to go over in each one of these roadmaps on Europe's current position in the world, and then an important part of each of the roadmaps will be focused on scientific and technological challenges and milestone. In the previous, if you look at the previous SRIA, this was the main focus of the roadmaps. Of it was back then was not the roadmaps; it was just individual chapters on especially on computing, simulation, sensing, and communication. And now you've seen how these roadmaps will be structured, and will of course focus on scientific and technological challenges, most likely in a horizon of 3, 5, and 10 years, like we had done in the previous SRIA. And now, contrary to the previous SRIA, where infrastructures were added afterwards, because they were not yet an integrant part of the European strategy. Now we will include infrastructures. So this will be Euro QCI, Euro HPC, and also pilot lines. So depending on what on the roadmap, we'll include the research innovation infrastructure within each one of these roadmaps. Then building the ecosystem, a focus on space and defense, which, as you've seen, it's one of the 5 main sections of the Quantum Euro strategy. So space and defense challenges, a specific chapter on them. Implementation pathways, highlighting what are the most important ways to get there. Standardization, KPIs, so key performance indicators and benchmark, extremely important as well. And finally, summary table with time sequenced actions, again, for each one of these roadmaps. So maybe we can move on. Salvatore before described what will be the governance and the leadership, but just to make sure that it's clear. So the SRIA leadership editor team will be, we target 50-50 academia and industry, more than 30% female, looking also very importantly in the widening countries, so making sure that we have a fair representation of geographical balance, as it was said earlier. So the chair of the coordinator of the SRIA will be selected after the selection of the CSA, and then the editor group chairs, whose selection is happening right now, will be in charge of the 6 roadmaps that you've seen by now several times. And there is also going to be a small group working on each one of the other chapters, again, talent, world leading quantum industry, public and private capital, international collaboration, quantum talent, and equal opportunities in quantum. And this, of course, will have the support from the project officers. Specifically in the roadmaps, so a specific timeline for the roadmaps, which are within, as you saw, the SRIA. It's very similar, so maybe I'm not going to spend too much time to make sure that we have enough time for questions. So maybe I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It's essentially very close. No, if you go back just 1 second, I wanted to highlight that there will be workshops for collecting input. Okay, so this is an important additional point with respect to the previous. We hope to be able. We'll see. It has not been decided again yet exactly how this workshop will be organized. We need to finalize the editor groups first and the chair, so that we make sure that this is planned. But we're going to make sure to organize 3 workshops, so that in addition to the consultation phases, to make sure that proper feedback is received throughout the process of the strategy roadmaps. Then the remaining chapters of the SRIA, and I'll let the floor to Salvatore to finalize this, to conclude this.
Yeah, thanks, Eleni. So essentially, I think we'll say pretty much everything now. Just to what the remaining chapters. So that's been explained into details about the 6 chapters, and also one that will be done afterwards, which is the cross-cutting challenges that will be done once the 6 main chapters have been developed. Just to say that there are other chapters, a similar process will be done for the other chapters. They will be coordinated by groups within the coordination and support actions. There will be, as you can see here, additional groups that will be involved in the consultation, which are specific to each chapter. But otherwise, essentially, this just gives the overall view of who is going to do what on top of the 6 chapters we have seen before. But otherwise, I would say probably we have gone through the main elements of the presentation. Unless, Eleni, you see something else which say before we go to the questions.
I think that's all. Yeah, that's good for me. I mean, that I hope we've given the main points that need your attention.
So that's all for us. So we can probably start with the question session.
Thank you very much, Salvatore and Eleni, for this very, very focused and brief but intensive presentation about your work. We already start to get questions, and I go directly into them. So the first question we have from Raphaël Bougani, and he's from the French National Secretariat for Investment. And the question is, in the writing process, will any extra European stakeholder be involved specifically, apart from the public consultation, of course? And there is the worry that there is a high risk of US interference.
Okay. Thank you for this question. Thank you for this question. We do not expect, I think, Salvatore, you'll connect. I take the question and then, we do not expect to involve in the editor group countries that are outside Europe. The idea is to involve countries that are eligible in all of the present Horizon Europe and Digital Europe calls. So this includes the 27 member states and a few associate partner countries. But we do not expect. There is no plan to involve stakeholders from outside this. Having said that, I think in the international collaboration chapter, I think we'll pay attention to include to discuss quite extensively these risks, what we expect that international collaborations, but risks, but also opportunities and future perspectives for international collaboration, like the Commission has done for several countries, joint calls. So this will be discussed for international collaboration, and although I do not expect the parties to be part of the editorial group, I think we will consult possibly for that chapter with extra European stakeholders. Don't know if you want to add something, Salvatore.
No, that's fine. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. We are still curious about this risk of US influence, interference, let's say, on the agenda. The second question is from David Neumann, and he's from the European Defence Agency. So the European Defence Agency is conducting a road mapping for quantum in defense in all fields, and also in collaboration with the European Commission. In your initiative, there are many groups and well-defined governance. Now the question is, do you think there are groups relevant to join by the European Defence Agency management, the ministers of defense experts, and or by our industry, RTO, and academia partners?
Well, I would say if people from the European Defence Agency want to contribute to there are 2 levels as it was presented by Eleni. Each chapter will address the issues about defense, and that will be how technologies should be tuned, and the specification in order to address the needs which are dual usage will be addressed specifically in each chapter. There will be a specific roadmap for European armament, as we say, that will be coordinated by DG Defense, which is outside the scope of the coordination of the flagship. So I think that the European Defence Agency, if they want to contribute, they are more than welcome to give suggest names that they would like to propose for each specific chapter, if this is the objective really of the question. And for the one that is coordinator about the European armament technology roadmap, that will be coordinated by the DG Defense, so they have to be in coordination with the DG Defense.
Yeah, maybe one more thing I could ask is that I would really like to stress the importance of the consultation phase, because in particular for ministries, probably the best means to contribute will be through the QTCG. So the Quantum Technologies Coordination Group, which includes explicitly government representation from each one of the member states. So I think ministerial level comments could come through the QTCG feedback, I would say, but so it would be unlikely, I think, to include ministry members in the editor groups. But what you're saying about industry, RTO, academia linked to defense, for sure. No? I mean, for sure, because as we showed, there is a space and defense chapter for each one of these, so we definitely need the experts on this.
Okay, great. So in the nutshell, that would be first public consultation. The way to participate is through the public consultation. Then a more direct way is through the QTCG group, and I wonder if there is a particular way to do it. So it needs to be found, the connection, I suppose. And Salvatore mentioned that the names could be proposed for the working group, correct? Salvatore.
Well, yeah, there are, as you say, Oxana, there are two ways to contribute to the roadmap. One is be part of the editor groups, which are being built now. So that means that people have to commit themselves for a certain significant amount of work for building up the document. Then there is a second phase, as Eleni presented, which are the public and community consultations. So this will be, the document will be shared with the community to get feedback, a larger feedback, so people can give the availability, their interest to contribute into the second phase of consultation. Now, how we want to, so that the European Defense Agency, if they want to have some specific contribution, they can decide how they want to do it in the two different phases. We will share the document with those who have been attending today, so they can see how they can do it. And
I would stress that they should, if people are interested for the editor groups, it has to be quite fast because they are being formed now. We have many candidates, so I think it would be good to finalize this quite quickly.
Should they be contacting you directly, Salvatore and Eleni, or is the call still open for proposing the candidatures?
So officially it has closed,
okay.
But it has not, because it was the deadline was December 4. But it's okay, since we're doing this training now. It's okay. I mean, to send us an email and we'll relay to the appropriate people.
Okay, very nice. So if you could maybe write your email in the chat to everybody,
Okay.
then David could contact you
Yes,
directly.
and there is also the email address info@qt.eu, which it would be nice to put them in copy. Okay, so maybe we can do this in the chat. Yeah. Okay.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much, Eleni. Okay, I hope that we respond to David's question, and we are going to the next one. So the next question is regarding the outside EU collaboration as well. So yeah, I think we got it. Which countries or organizations outside of Europe should be the EU main partners when it comes to the quantum technologies? Here, I think we could first list who are already the main partners according to the collaborations already established, and maybe you could also wave us what you think who should be the next ones.
Europe or European Union? Because I mean that today,
okay,
For instance,
so here the question is actually containing both, and first outside Europe and then EU, which is the European Union. And here we should be very clear that there are two different entities, because one is the geographic entity and another is the political entity. And yeah, so I think it's fair to, as we are now speak of quantum flagship, and quantum flagship has been focused on the EU 27 members. So probably we should clarify this and say then above how we are outside of EU 27. Let's do it this way.
Yes, so I mean the situation. I can say, Eleni, do you want to answer this?
Go ahead, and I'll complete if necessary.
Yeah. So today the situation is different from what it was in 2022. So today, I believe the United Kingdom and Switzerland will probably, I think they will be included in this phase. That was different at the time. Outside, so if we take outside Europe and not outside the European Union, I would say there are a certain number of countries that are called like-minded countries. So I would probably not say anything a list today, but there are countries we call like-minded countries with whom, as you say, Oxana, there are already existing collaborations, like Japan, Korea, for example. Is not exhaustive list, so I don't know, Eleni.
I think explicitly from quantum, I would call Japan, Korea, South Korea, and Canada, right? Where there have been explicitly collaborations and partnerships between the EU and beyond, and these countries for quantum technologies and joint calls. I think there is a real wish that under this international collaborations will be maintained, sustained, and even expanded during the quantum for the European quantum strategy. While also looking, of course, being careful with subjects of interference and sovereignty. There's no question about it. So there is always a bit. It goes much beyond our mandate for the SRIA. This discussion is very, very big and very large. But as far as we are concerned, this is in this the European strategy will explicitly include international collaboration with such countries.
And do you know about collaborations potentially with India and US?
So this is probably a question mostly to the European Commission, because the European Commission is the one that is handling this discussion at this stage. So I would not be able to say something explicitly.
We have the exceptional situation here, as I think many people from the European Commission are present. So I would be really happy if somebody would like to take the answer to this question and raise the hand and or open the microphone and speak. Let us see if somebody from participants would like to comment on the collaborations with US and India. Well, we will wait for the hand. Once the hand will come up, we can come back to this question. And in the meantime, let's go further. So we have a question regarding the
geographical balance.
The geographical, exactly. The geographical representation that was mentioned. And the question is, how does the chair plan to secure the participation of editors from the widening countries?
I would say in the same way that they were targeting to make sure that we have 50% industry and 30% female participation. We have set in accordance with colleagues that are represent a bit these widening countries, about 20% at least participation. And so, yeah, I think the idea is that we'll make sure that this this is represented in the editor groups.
And the list will be the composition, the final list of the editor group will be validated by the Strategic Advisory Board and the Commission. So it is not something that is done by a limited number of people. So,
All right. Okay. So practically, you will be evaluating you will be trying to see from all potential people who are able to participate, that the balance is right, and selecting the people to fit the balance. That's gonna be a really hard job. We had a smaller ambition, in the sense that in this training, the ambition was that for the speakers of this training, we have equal representation between industry and academia, and gender and geographic. So we had these three goals, and it was not easy to balance them. We did a hard job, but I wish you the best for that.
Thank you. I'm optimistic because we have really very, very good candidates, so I think it will be okay. But you're right, Oxana will really try hard to maintain.
It's a three-parameter job, and
but I really think the really hard job is to actually write the roadmap.
You are challenged with several of hard tasks. It is true. The next question is from Mita Markevichute. I hope I did not screw too much. I apologize in advance. And she's from Lithuania Research Council. And the question is, how does the timeline of Quantum Act and the Quantum Strategy relate? The Quantum Flagship will be moved to the Europe HPC. So I think this is in the process. I don't know if this is completely finalized, but yeah, this is the move. And how will this affect the overall governance and quantum-related policies?
Salvatore, you want to start? No.
Well, I can probably start. I mean, you can the movement, moving the horizon, the Quantum Flagship into your HPC is a temporary solution. So that will be for the remaining part of the current multi-financial framework. The Quantum Act and the Quantum Strategy are two sides of the same coin, meaning the Quantum Act is the law, is the legislation that will be submitted to Parliament for vote. And there will be governance, there will be budget. The Quantum Strategy will say what we are going to do. It has to detail what the strategy is for the different sections of the implementation of the Quantum Act, and put some real roadmap. Essentially, the Quantum Strategy will need to provide enough details to justify why we need a certain budget for the next 7 years in order to implement the ambition of Europe. So there will be a strategy with the ambition, roadmaps that will decline and with define in details how we are going to do, what we're going to do, segmented by chapters. That will be the basic for the calls that will implement the budget execution. So there are two sides of the same coin implemented, I would say, in the way that I've just said. Eleni?
Yeah, no, I completely agree between Quantum Act and Quantum Strategy, and related to Euro HPC. Indeed, I don't think it has been finalized completely yet. It's in the process of moving to joint undertaking, and this will all be described. This will be more clear. For the moment, there are a few unclear points about the governance and the effect that this will have on all the quantum-related calls, policies, etc. And this will be, I hope that this will be made very clear in the quantum governance chapter of the SRIA. This is exactly where I included the governance. So we included the governance chapter in the draft to make sure that this is laid out as carefully as possible. So indeed, there will be a change in the policies. There's no question about it.
And the timelines relation. So the quantum strategy, the roadmap that you presented now will be handed in November next year, and the Quantum Act is planned to appear next year as well, if I'm not wrong. But I suppose that it should be somehow following.
Yeah, I think the strategy precedes, in a sense, the legislation, like Salvatore said, but they are being developed in parallel. Yeah. But it will precede the roadmap, the Quantum Act. Yeah.
Well, I heard that there was a negotiation related to the funding mechanism, in the sense that in the joint undertaking, it's by default 50% finance from the European Commission and 50% from the member states, which is different to the program that was before, to the Quantum Flagship as well, finance mechanism. And there is a negotiation on how to deal with it, whether the member states are accepting that type of sharing the financial contributions.
Yeah, the most likely right now it will depend that there will be a distinction between TRL levels. So more basic and research could profit from 100% funding, while more industrial, let's say, more high TRL concepts and actions will go towards co-funding. But this is currently under, as you said, under negotiation and under elaboration. But this something seems to be a compromise that kind of everybody agrees on, member states and the Commission.
Okay, that sounds very, very appealing. And another part is that the HPC stands for the high performance computing, right? While the Quantum Flagship has always embraced more technologies in it, as well as communication and sensing, and how would this instrument, although it's temporary, fit to the needs of all the Quantum Flagship role? By the way, temporary for how long? Do we know?
I don't think anybody knows right now.
But I would say it goes beyond really the objective of this presentation. This is really talking about what we've been talking today was about the future, was about having a quantum act to put together in a coherent way all the initiatives that are going on today in Europe. The quantum strategy should be able to describe in details what we are going to do in practice, what is the vision, what are the actions, what are the objectives, and what then will drive the future course. And the intermediate phase between now and there is something that probably is something that goes beyond. So it's something goes beyond the objective of what we've been discussing today. We are not going to focus on this.
Yeah.
The objective
I think
of this.
Salvatore is right. It is really a very ambitious document because all these, initiatives have been launched a bit separately in the previous years. And in this thing, we want to really bring coherence to everything. So we need everyone to bring coherence, and this will then find its way in the new framework program. I'm not worried about this, but bringing coherence between infrastructures, between fundamental scientific and technological challenges across all quantum pillars, that of course whatever the governance framework, it will include all the pillars of quantum technology. So the name is a name, but as it's a transitory phase, I'm sure it will include all quantum technologies. There is no question about it. Nobody's left outside. But bringing coherence to all of this, making it with a vision, like Salvatore said, and benchmarks and milestones that we need to reach to bring the objectives to 2035 is the main focus of what should be focusing on in the next few months during this procedure.
Yeah. So the strategy, of course, has a very important point, which is where we want to go, and that is the key focus, and as well how we want to go. So this is a technical detail, but a very important one. And
the how is the roadmap. The roadmap will describe what the strategy say. It says what is the ambition, and the roadmap will describe how we are going to be able to implement and achieve the ambitions.
So right, but it will not include though funding instruments and stuff like this. It will not be part of this area. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so that is probably partially the answer on the question from Philippe Ragier from the CNRS. And he's saying that the EC intention is to strengthen the interaction with national programs through the QTCG, as Eleni already mentioned, the board of all ministers, and 50% co-funding, as well as some other measures. So the question of Philippe is explicitly about what we talked now. How will you take that into account in the SRIA?
So alignment between the Commission strategy and the national, the member state programs, of course, will be part of not the roadmaps, the 6 roadmaps, but part of the other structures, so the governance and how we're going to implement the strategy. But I do not believe explicitly we're going to be talking about funding instruments in this area. This is not the goal of this this document.
Yeah. And I mean, the percentage of co-funding is already, we have to notice, is already going on today. I mean, the pilot lines, so what is issued by the CHIPS JU is based on the same mechanism. The same is for what the HPCQS call for the hybrid computing is based on the same. So at the end, we have, I think that the important point that has been raised by everyone is that we have to make sure that we differentiate between basic fundamental research with activities that are more with maturity, procurement of innovation, procurement of products. So I would say the funding mechanism is something that has to be discussed in parallel. That is, it says, because I mean that there is where we want to go, what the actions we have to do in order to be there, and that is then the last question is how are we going to pay for it? So this last question can be treated in parallel, but it goes beyond the scope of the important point. That is, what do we have to do in Europe to be competitive on the main chapters we've been describing, and what is the roadmap? What are the actions? So there are 3 different things: what we want to do, where we want to go, how we're going to get there, and how we're going to find the money to get there.
Great. Yeah. Okay. I think we have done an excellent job and answered all the questions that came from the participants. I check for the hands raised in case any. No, we have not got any volunteer to comment on the cooperation with US and India. Let's keep it for some coming up sessions. And I'm really thankful to our speakers for presenting this important work on future road for the quantum technologies in Europe. Thank you very much, Eleni and Salvatore, and I wish you a great, great, great luck and a lot of energy and good collaboration with working groups and balanced editorial board.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Oxana. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.